Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently studying the scripture Mysticism of Ramayana. Commentaries by my Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently studying Kishkinda Kand, and yesterday we were talking about the mystical meaning of Bali and Sugriva. So let's continue. An aspirant cannot see his vasanas or try to remove them by direct confrontation from the conscious plane of mind. These vasanas reside in dense, impenetrable regions of the unconscious and cannot be easily discerned. It is by the supermental power of divine grace that they are eventually struck a death blow. From behind the dense bushes of unconscious impressions, from the very heart of one's being, the luminous divine self shoots an arrow of divine light, which dispels the darkness of Ashubha or impure vasanas and replaces them with the ever-increasing light of Shubha or pure vasanas. Tara represents Mati or understanding. At the time she is with Bali, she represents Kumati or wrong understanding. When she is with Sugriva, she represents Sumati or good understanding. After the death of Bali, the lower mind, understanding becomes firmly linked to Sugriva, the higher mind, and no longer is subject to confusion and negativity. She helps Sugriva to organize the monkey and bear army, which is symbolic of controlling the energy operating at the level of senses and making it fit to serve the goals of the higher self. Viewed from a different mystical perspective, the destruction of Bali implies that Kundalini has opened a channel through the Anahata chakra at the heart center, and Sugriva's friendship with Rama represents the ascent of Kundalini through the Vishuddhi chakra at the throat center. Griva means throat, and Sugriva means good throat. So you see, as a sadhaka, we are gradually working on our Kundalini Shakti, which is the serpent power within us, and purifying our chakras. All the way we started from Mooladhara, then Swadhisthana, then Manipur, then Anahata, and now at the throat level, Vishuddhi chakra, mobilizing the monkeys and bears. While Sugriva dwelled in his palace in the city of Kishkinda, Rama and Lakshmana passed the rainy season in a wonderful cave provided by gods in the Pravarshana mountains. The mountain was enchantingly beautiful, and the gods and sages entertained Rama and in turn delighted in Rama's presence. One day, when the rainy season had passed, Rama said to his brother, "O Lakshmana, the rains are over and the winter has come, and yet I have not learned anything about Sita from Sugriva. He has now acquired a kingdom, treasury, and his wife, and he has forgotten me. Perhaps I should destroy him with the same arrow as I destroyed Bali, his older brother." Lakshmana, seeing Rama agitated, at once strung his bow and placed the arrow in his hand. Rama then told Lakshmana that he should not really hurt Sugriva, but simply engender a little fear in him so that he would remember his mission. However, Hanuman had already realized that Sugriva had forgotten Rama's mission. So he went to Sugriva and, bowing his head before the king, advised him that it was time to gather the monkey and bear soldiers. In response, messengers were sent to all parts of the earth to recruit a huge army to search for Sita. Thus, when Lakshmana came to Kishkinda, displaying his anger, Hanuman, Angad, and Tara appeased him and escorted him to see Sugriva. The monkey king then bowed his head before Lakshmana and humbly apologized for becoming intoxicated with his newfound pleasures and prosperity. Hanuman then told Lakshmana that monkeys and bears from all over the earth had been summoned and would soon arrive to carry out Rama's wishes. When all those recruits arrived, they marched with Sugriva and Hanuman to meet Rama. Delighted to behold his compassionate face, they bowed their heads before Rama and received his blessings. Even though there were countless monkeys and bears, Rama, by his spiritual powers, met each one of them and asked each one of them for their welfare. Then Sugriva gave the command for the soldiers to set out in all the four directions and return within a month with news of Sita's whereabouts, or else face death if they were not successful. Rama's befriending the monkeys and bears represents that phase in spiritual movement where an aspirant learns to practice pratyahara. That means withdrawal of the senses and control of mind. The pranic energy operating at the plane of the senses and mind can be compared to monkeys and bears. Sometimes the mind and senses are constantly restless and distracted like monkeys, jumping in one direction from another. Sometimes they are lethargic and more dull-witted like the bears. Thoughts and feelings hibernate within, and the personality cannot budge an inch in order to adapt and adjust. Without Rama, without a divine mission, those energies simply wander without purpose through the forest of the world process. But when Rama befriends them, all those energies are united in a powerful mystical mission that greatly aids one's spiritual evolution. They are controlled and organized into an army that works diligently to reunite the soul, Rama with the purified intellect, Sita. Like Sita imprisoned in Lanka, the intellect compelled by ignorance, has been imprisoned beyond the conscious range of the mind. To get it back in a healthy state, one must purify and explore the unconscious through sadhana. That means spiritual discipline with the help of the integrated energies that operate at the level of mind and senses. Hanuman is represented as a monkey because his spiritual force operates through the energies on the plane of the mind and senses. However, Hanuman is as different from an ordinary monkey as a lion is from a kitten. Hanuman represents the immense spiritual force that is known as Atmabal or soul force. He represents Sadhana Shakti, the power generated by intense spiritual discipline, and also Brahmacharya Shakti, the power of purity that results from the restraint of passion and lessening of one's identification with the body idea. These aspects of spiritual power, coupled with the power of devotion to God, enable one to discipline the mind and senses quite effortlessly. When Sugriva became caught up in his royal prosperity and forgot about his promise to help Rama, Rama realized this and appeared to become quite angry. As Sage Tulsidas ji points out, Rama certainly has no real anger. Rather, it is Rama's grace that all anger, pride and delusion are removed from an aspirant's mind. By this colorful portrayal of Rama's wrath, Tulsidas ji actually intends to show how one must be very careful of worldly prosperity and its intoxicating effects upon the mind. Sugriva was sensitive to the divine plan in his life. He was a friend of Rama, and his whole intention was to carry out Rama's mission as soon as the rains had passed. However, he became too comfortable and he forgot about everything. Similarly, unless one is vigilant and constantly alert, it is easy for him to fall prey to the temptations of the world and to forget his divine purpose. However, when this happens, Rama's wrath comes to an aspirant in the form of some adversity, which eventually awakens greater spiritual sensitivity within his heart. Thus, God's wrath is really God's compassion, the divine way of bestowing attention upon those who need it most. Om Tat Sat.